Hello everyone, it's Kelly Cahoot and I'd like to welcome you to the Honeybee Stamps Holiday Wishes YouTube Hop. Make sure you check out the description box below for all the information on the hop and our wonderful design team videos. Starting off the hop today, I'm going to be creating a card with the brand new watercolor pines stamps and the coordinating dies. I'm going to use a sentiment from one of the awesome stamp sets from Kelley Taylor, but let's go ahead and get started with the solid stamps from the watercolor pine stamp set. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to plan out where all of my pine trees are going to go on the background. And I am just kind of laying these out to get the lay of the land here to see how high I need to stamp the actual tree portion and then where I need to put the trunks of the trees. So I'm going to lay out the three that I'm going to stamp on the background of my card. So I'm just kind of eyeballing these. I'm going to get this tree trunks and everything lined up the way that I want them. And then I'm going to remove the trunks of the trees and only work on the tops of the trees. And I'm going to do almost kind of a rainbow of Christmas trees here. The paper I have added in my Misty is a white watercolor cardstock. You can use whatever color you or whatever cardstock you'd like, but I find that watercolor paper will stand up to the misting of my stamps that I'm going to do in a minute. It's going to handle all the ink and all the water. So the pink tree is Tattered Rose. The middle tree, the green, is Bundled Sage, and the third tree is Rusty Hinge. Next, I'm taking my distress sprayer and gently spritzing those stamps with a little bit of water, and you can really see now how that oxide ink has puddled up on the stamp when I stamped it. The next thing I'm doing is taking a little brush that I have and I'm adding more Tattered Rose in certain areas on that solid stamp. You can see those areas getting deeper and darker with each impression. Now, some of these stamps I'm adding the same color, and some of them I am adding a darker color. So for the green tree, instead of adding Bundled Sage, I'm adding Peeled Paint, which is going to give me a deeper, more olive green look. And you're really going to see that I'm adding on really start popping out as I add it in. Now, what's so fun about this technique is you can stop when you want to, you can add more, you can do whatever you want, and especially with some type of stamping tool, it's really going to help you be able to stamp it over and over again until you get it exactly the way you want it. Now for my Rusty Hinge tree, I'm adding Fired Brick, so it's going to bring in more of a red color into those tree limbs. So I've got like an orange and a red going on. And the next thing I'm going to do is take the tree trunks that I had arranged before that go with all those little pine trees. I'm going to arrange those on an acrylic block and I'm going to stamp those by hand in Walnut Stain oxide ink. So you can see I'm getting way over the top to line those up. And I find for just little pieces like this, sometimes it's easier to use an acrylic block and get my head way over the top and kind of nestle and figure out where those need to go. Now I'm going to take the beautiful scripty Merry Christmas from the Pine and Berry Centerpiece stamp set. That was a stamp set designed by Kelley Taylor. I'm going to use that beautiful sentiment on the bottom of my card. And as I mentioned before, this layer is going to be the background. And so I've stamped the first three trees. I'm adding the Merry Christmas and again stamping that in the Walnut Stain ink. So it's going to perfectly blend in with my tree trunks and everything else. On a new sheet of watercolor paper, I'm going to stamp two more trees, and we're going to do this in the same way as we did the first three, but this time I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut these out. So I am taking Festive Berries, which is a really kind of reddish pink. I've inked up my stamp, spritzed it with water, and I'm going to lay that stamp down. Next, I'm taking Aged Mahogany, which is a really deep, rich burgundy. I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to simply blend on in certain areas that aged mahogany just to darken up certain areas. And again, I love using my Misty or some type of stamping tool because that's going to allow me to get this as dark and to go over it as many times as I would like until I get it to look exactly the way that I want it. Next, I'm going in with iced spruce and I'm inking up that whole tree there. This one is going to be so pretty. I really like the way that this one turned out. I love all the puddles of water from where we have spritzed that with our distress sprayer. And then again, I'm going to take the same color, so iced spruce, on a brush. I'm going to add in deepness to certain areas just by adding a little brush of ink onto the stamp and then stamping it with the door of my Misty. And again, I can go over this and over this as many times as I'd like and add on as much color as I want to. I'm going to clean off my stamps and then we're going to start die cutting. I don't want to forget the little tree trunks that go with these two trees. Now, because I'm die cutting, I'm not going to connect them to the trees. These are little layering pieces that either you can use or you don't have to use. This stamp and coordinating die set gives you lots of options that way. So I'm going to stamp them up in between my little trees. Now that's how it would go if I was stamping it right down on the tree. I'm going to stamp them up here because I want to use the coordinating dies for both of these trees and the tree trunks to cut these out, and I'm going to pop them up in our little gathering of trees that I have already stamped onto the background of my card that also has the sentiment with it. So I'm going to get all these dies taped down. I can die cut everything out and pop them out, and now you're seeing my kind of fun muted color rainbow of trees kind of pop out here. Now this is how everything's going to kind of look as I lay out all of my die cuts and everything onto that stamped watercolory background. I'm going to use some of our liquid adhesive to attach the trunks to the trees. So this one I'm going to attach to the back side and just kind of nestle that right up in the bottom center. I'm going to pinch that down and let that liquid adhesive really do its job and connect those two little die cuts together. And then I can take some of our tabbed foam dots, and that's what's going to add some dimension to the back of my watercolor pine. Now you notice I am kind of lining up all the trunks of the trees. I'm going to take my blue-green colored tree that we use the ice spruce, and I'm going to attach that to the front because it does have a little section that you can see where the trunk is going up into the limbs of the trees. When I get that glued down with the liquid adhesive, then I can take my little dimensional dots there and add that to the back, and that's going to add a little bit of fun dimension to the front of my card. Now for this little watercolor panel to set on, I'm going to use some of our new Holiday Wishes paper pad. I love this beautiful stripe, and so it kind of coordinates with all of my watercolor trees, and I didn't plan that, but it worked out just perfectly. I'm going to trim this down to 5.5 by 4.25, and then this is what my stamped background is going to rest on, and you're going to be able to see all those beautiful colors just kind of pop out from the background there. I'm making a side folding card base that's A2, so 4.25 by 5.5. Use my little score buddy to make a nice score line and get that all nice and pressed down. And then I can use my liquid adhesive to add that striped pattern paper onto the front of my card base. The next thing I need to do is add my pretty watercolored tree background, and I am just in love with how all these watercolor inks or those oxide inks coordinate with that striped paper. And now I have a really fun, a little bit rustic, a little bit modern, kind of rainbow watercolor pine card going on. Here's a look at the finished card. I hope you have liked and enjoyed the start of this wonderful Holiday Wishes hop. Make sure you check out the information box below and hop along to all of our design team member videos. Make sure you leave a comment because you could be one of our Holiday Wishes YouTube hop winners. Talk to you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.